Spoiler alert, we conducted a massive national experiment, and I'm not going to make you wait for this entire piece to end to find out the result. The US mail has gotten slower as we've approached Election Day. But NBCLX wanted to find out why, and if those slowdowns would affect election results. So come with me as we take our third and final journey testing the Postal Service. In a year where every kitchen table and every driver's seat has become a voting booth, partisan battles have popped up in unexpected places too, like the post office.
The Postal Service is a joke.
In less than 2 months as Postmaster General, you have undermined one of our nation's most trusted institutions.
So back in August, NBCLX, along with NBC-owned television stations across the country, started cutting through the rhetoric by sending out and tracking hundreds of letters from a dozen major cities. Our back-of-the-envelope math revealed a slower-than-expected postal service, but still reliable, delivering 88% of our August and September letters within 3 days and 98% within a week. Pretty good if that's your ballot. Then came October, and a big on-time drop-off, with the election just mere weeks away. Only 79% of our letters made it within the quoted 3 days. Our 1 week performance was fairly consistent, but some letters never made it to their destinations. And with half of our country's ballots expected to come through the mail this year, similar problems would cancel out tens of thousands of them. I went to get answers from the same place I cast my ballot, my couch, for a Zoom press conference.
Provide an update on operations with less than 2 weeks away from Election Day.
There were promises that first-class performance would be improved as we got closer to the election, but that hasn't exactly happened. To what do you attribute the October slide in performance?
We take seriously our mission, and I think, as we've stated and as we can see, the Postal Service is deploying all available resources to ensure that all election mail moves timely.
In other words, they didn't answer my question. But a just-released Inspector General's report did, putting the blame for most of this year's disruptions on 57 new cost reduction strategies implemented by new Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, initiatives the IG found DeJoy wasn't forthcoming about when testifying in front of Congress. And even though most of the changes have now been rolled back, internal USPS data obtained through federal court filings indicates first-class performance has not returned to its July benchmarks when DeJoy started making changes. The on-time delivery numbers in many districts around the Mid-Atlantic and Great Lakes regions remain dreadful. Philadelphia's on-time delivery has fallen below 80%, DC's below 75%, and Detroit, the biggest city in swing state Michigan, barely getting 70% of its first-class mail delivered on time. The agency's goal is 95%. Bear with me 1 second as I show you why those differences matter. If half of Michigan's 5 million ballots are cast by mail, and just 10% of those, a modest estimate, are mailed in the next week, that's still 250,000 ballots arriving on or around Election Day. And if only 70% of them are delivered on time, that's 75,000 votes that could get rejected for arriving too late. In 2016, Donald Trump won Michigan by just 10,000 votes. And even if it doesn't swing a presidential election, there are hundreds of local seats all across the US that will be decided by much smaller amounts. That's why Democrats and Republicans have been waging court battles in dozens of states, arguing over how many days they should give the post office to successfully deliver your ballot. The USPS now says it's prioritizing election mail, giving it fast pass treatment that our regular first-class letters don't get, and they'll add extra deliveries for the week leading up to and the week after November 3rd. But the most reassuring news I got came from an unlikely place: bipartisanship.
Frank LaRose, I serve as the Ohio Secretary of State.
Nellie Gorbea, Secretary of State of Rhode Island.
Despite the dysfunctional nature of American politics, most of our elections officials actually function pretty well together, and they've worked with each other as well as local USPS officials to mitigate some potential postal problems.
My relationship with the local postmaster is fantastic. And, the minute we started hearing concerns in news media outlets about what was going on with the Postal Service, the removal of postal boxes or the dismantling of machinery, I was able to get her on the phone within an hour.
It's inspired innovations on how ballots are sorted as well as how they're printed in some states. And the secretaries say they haven't yet seen any problems with the delivery of ballots.
The US Postal Service seems to be doing a good job from everything we can see. And so my confidence in that regard is high. What's unfortunate, Noah, is because of all of the noise and rhetoric, including really on both sides of the aisle, people have this irrational fear right now, this irrational trepidation about mailing their ballot.
You can absolutely trust voting by mail in this country. There are a lot of safeguards in place. Your Secretary of States are on it.
But you've got to keep your end of the bargain too. If you care about your ballot counting, you've got to pay attention to the instructions. And the really important part is that you and your friends need to know when your state's ballot deadline is. I hate to say it, but if you live in one of these 31 states where your ballot needs to be received by Election Day, you might not want to risk mailing it at this point. These 15 states only require you to mail your ballot by Election Day, but they may not count them if they aren't received promptly. And these 4 states give you extra time as well, as long as your ballot is postmarked the day before November 3rd. But again, with no guarantee of an accurate postmark or timely delivery, just don't cut it close, okay? You get it. Elections have consequences. But as it turns out, if you take the right precautions, mix in a little luck, they also have clear and decisive winners.
The elections official's prayer, Lord, whoever wins, let them win big.
Hey everyone, Noah Pransky here. Thanks for checking out the NBCLX YouTube channel. For more videos, click here. And don't forget to click subscribe to join the NBCLX community.